2021. We will now reconvene our meeting. We'll begin tonight with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Frost.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. And we have one presentation proclamation tonight. Tonight we are honoring Pepe's Sports Bar and Grill as our business of the quarter. And if Pepe is here, if you want to come inside. And Robert. Pepe and Robert are both here. Hi, guys. Let me come down to the well real quick. Good evening, guys. So, as part of our recognition of volunteers, businesses, and staff, tonight we're recognizing Pepe's Sports Bar and Grill as our business of the quarter. Pepe Stoicheva purchased Pepe's in 2015. Is that right? From some business of some other name that none of us remember. And they're now a great member of the community down in Doheny Village. We really wanted to recognize you guys tonight because we'll be spending the balance of tonight's meeting talking about Doheny Village. And we have a lot of great businesses in town, but I think none were hurt more by COVID than the bars. And while Pepe's has a fantastic Philly cheesesteak, they're very much a bar, and their business really is about watching sports, hanging out, shooting pool. They have every football game normally, unlike this year, UFC fights, and there's sports on all the time. And Pepe's really was hurt by COVID. But Pepe and Robert found a way to continue to pay their employees, continue to do everything right that they could, following all the state guidelines that seem to change once a week, right? They worked with the city. They put tables outside. They spaced out their tables inside, and they did everything they could to get by. All the while, they found a way to really support and continue to be members of the community. Pepe, how many turkeys did you make this year? 25 turkeys. So people probably don't know this because she doesn't advertise it, but they use their kitchen every Thanksgiving to cook turkeys for people who might not be able to cook them for themselves. This year, Pepe had to drive around for weeks because of COVID. You can only buy one turkey at a time. So she made a lot of trips to different grocery stores to fill up the freezer and then feed a lot of people for Thanksgiving. Pepe also recently signed on to help the Hugs for Heroes program here in town. Thanks to Capo Beach and Capo Cares and Capo Beach Church for putting that together. And they've been donating food, meals for health workers and hospital workers, and really have proven once again that you guys are a great member of our community. So without any further ado, I'd like to give you this certificate of recognition to Pepe Stoicheva from Pepe's Sports Bar and Grill as the business of the quarter. The city of Dana Point takes great pleasure in. It's a lot more difficult with a mask on. The city of Dana Point takes great pleasure in featuring Pepe's Sports Bar and Grill, located at 34235 Doheny Park Road, Capistrano Beach, California, and extends our congratulations on being named Dana Point Business of the Quarter on behalf of the Dana Point City Council and the city of Dana Point. Pepe graciously provided meals to hospital staff working COVID care units through the Hugs for Heroes program, dated this 16th day of February, 2021. Pepe, if you want to come up, please.
I know. Thank you, right? This is awesome. I really appreciate it. My dream has always been to own a bar, and I worked 13 years for one. as Patrick knows. It was like my family. They taught me a lot. And I spent everything I had saved to buy this. So I'm really glad that we're doing great and we're going to succeed through COVID. We're not falling. So me and my husband have been working hard every day pretty much. And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I wanted to make it like a cheers bar where it's a family bar. Everybody feels comfortable. Everybody's our friend. And make it a safe environment for everybody. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Congratulations to Pepe's and to Pepe and Robert. Thank you, guys. That brings us to reading of the ordinance titles at this time. Madam Clerk, are there any ordinance titles to read?
Yes, I have one item to read. It's item number 9. It's a second reading and adoption of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Dana Point, California, establishing Dana Point Municipal Code, Chapter 5.42, Small Wireless Facility Business Regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the council, the public, or the staff request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Are there any items to be removed by the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right. By staff
No, sir.
and by council? Okay, then I will move the items in the consent calendar.
Second.
Madam Clerk, is there any public comment?
Okay, so you just moved the consent calendar, right?
Just the consent calendars. Any
Okay.
any public comment on those?
No,
No, okay.
none. Thank you.
Sorry, my mistake. And all in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you. Now, public comments. Madam Clerk, I know you have a number. We still do not have any in person, is that right?
Not for this item. We will have one in person for item number 10.
For item number 10. For the general public comments, the clerk will read the comments and will still be limited to a 3-minute time limit. So she will stop reading when she gets to that point if that happens. So go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first public comment is from Tony Nelson, Capistrano Beach. As you know, a planning commission subcommittee is currently engaged in public outreach for the proposed expansion of the city's short-term vacation rental program. I was among several residents who were fortunate enough to be invited to participate in one of only 4 stakeholder meetings. While these were quite productive, key stakeholder groups such as long-term renters who represent 38% of Dana Point residents were not included. The impact of short-term rentals on long-term rental housing stock is well documented. It's vital that those occupying rental housing understand that landlords may have an incentive to convert housing into more lucrative short-term rentals. Nor was any outreach directed to our many existing and proposed new hotel owners and operators who have a huge stake in the market for visitor accommodations. Many of our 34,000 residents have no idea that an expanded STR program is coming and their residential zoning may soon change. Because every household is affected by the possibility of having a short-term rental next door, it's vital that the city do a better job of outreach. All public agencies typically notify all affected neighbors of potential zoning changes or new developments. Every household that may be affected by short-term rentals should be similarly noticed. This should include those who live in HOA communities since, as we know, illegal STRs have and will likely continue to emerge even in the neighborhoods that have protected CRNRs. I strongly request that the city send notices to all residents and not simply rely on social media and local advertising to get the word out. It's simply not adequate notice. A great many of the 4,000 people who signed the referendum overturning the last STR ordinance had no idea that their zoning had been changed. This is inexcusable. Just as every STR owner was notified, the same courtesy should be extended to every resident, especially since you've voted not to allow citizens to vote on this issue. I recognize that the Planning Commission and not the council is manning the STR subcommittee, but they are doing so at your direction. Please take steps to mail notices to all households, ensuring that every person who rents or owns a home in Dana Point is advised of a program that has a potential to seriously affect available housing stock, property values, and their quality of life. Okay, the second public comment is from Robert Heaton. Overview, vehicle noise, and it's the subject is vehicle noise policing in Dana Point. Overview, vehicle noise violations in Dana Point represent a significant degradation to the quality of life. During the weekend, residents may expect to have their attention drawn to vehicles with illegal modified exhaust every few minutes. Recognizing this issue, California enacted AB 1824 beginning 2019, which mandates a fine. However, during the 2019 Orange County Police enforced this law 0 times. Some tickets are issued under Vehicle Code 27150, etc., but Dana Point issue around 1 per month, which is 1/5 the number of tickets issued by Laguna Niguel, according to FOE data received from the Orange County Police. Recently, I went to investigate an apparent drag race, which was clearly audible at my home, more than half a mile away. A police car was there, but I did not see a single ticket issued, despite the presence of at least 20 ostentatious violating vehicles. Objections to enforcement. When citizens request enforcement of vehicle noise laws, there are a predictable responses. Number one, police do not have the resources. Nobody expects this to be the highest priority. However, this is a low crime area. If Laguna Niguel can step up the rate of ticketing, so can Dana Point. Number two, enforcement interferes with people's freedom. We are governed by democratically enacted laws. The people, through their representatives, decided not to tolerate this behavior. This is our way to clarify to the violator, no, this is not okay. Number three, it is a victimless crime. Nobody cares. Per the above, the people of California do care. Violators care too. There is a competition for the most obnoxious sound. There is a clear intent to cause widespread irritation. Requests for action. I thereby request Dana Point City work with police at least equal the ticket issuance at the rate of nearby cities. Robert Heaton. Okay, the next public comment is from Hoyen IP regarding California organic waste reduction actions. Dear City Council, I wonder how Dana Point is progressing on organic waste reduction SB 1383 compliance. It's in San Clemente's council agenda for Tuesday. Every week, some cities agendize it. In 2022, enforcement will start. Penalties for noncompliance will be assessed by Cal Recycle and could face up to $10,000 a day. This week, Waste Management told Irvine that SB 1383 is one of the largest environmental initiatives California passed since 1989. They decided to create a project that is part of the compliance effort as their application for the Global Mayor's Challenge by Bloomberg Philanthropies. Attached is Sierra Club's California Organic Waste Reduction Proposal and support for jurisdictions to act individually and partner with each other and form organic waste reduction campaigns with 3 outcomes: feed the hungry, conserve natural resources, slow down climate change. Please let me know how I can help. And she did attach a presentation from the Sierra Club. Okay, let's see. I think, was that my last one? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for that, Madam Clerk. That brings us to the council reports section of the agenda tonight. And I think we'll go from my left to my right tonight. Mr. Frost, do you have anything to report?
Nothing to report. And Kathy, I will get you my my list tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report, but I will turn in my list of meetings as soon as I'm able. Thank you.
I have turned in my list of meetings and have nothing to report, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if the council realizes this, but I forwarded this on to the city manager. McDonald's Corporation and their franchisees are offering a free small breakfast to all of our first responders this year. And I got an email from them, and I passed this along to OCFA as well. And I believe Captain Monteleone got it. But it said, from February 4th to February 25th, McDonald's franchise will offer COVID-19 responders a free small coffee and egg McMuffin every Thursday this month, 2/4, 2/11, 2/18, 2/25. We've got 2 weeks left. With our new Thank You Thursdays program at drive-through and takeout. Medical workers, to include paramedics, hospital and vaccination site staff, firefighters, and police officers are eligible to redeem this offer. And I just want to thank the McDonald's Corporation for reaching out and thanking our vastly overworked folks right now during this pandemic and for all they do for our communities. So I just wanted to point that out. I have nothing else to report, and I have turned in my list of meetings. I got back on track.
I have nothing to report, and I turned in my list of meetings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fantastic. Agenda item number 10 tonight. That is the Doheny Village Plan, Beautification, and Connectivity Updates. Staff report. Ms. Dinas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a moment to get it set up here. All right. Good evening, Mayor Federico, City Council, and members of the public. My name is Belinda Dinas, Principal Planner, and I'm pleased to present to you updates on the Doheny Village Plan as well as beautification and connectivity efforts in the village. In the past 30 years, there have been a number of attempts to develop a land use plan for Doheny Village. It became evident that the current general plan and zoning ordinance adopted in 1991 have not been effective in guiding development for Doheny Village for the past 3 decades. After the city received concerns with the draft form-based code, it was crucial to listen and learn from the village residents, property owners, and business owners. Beginning in October 2017, village stakeholders and city staff collaborated to inform, consult, involve, and empower community members in the visioning and land use planning process. Stakeholders reviewed the city's general plan, goals, and policies specific to the development of Doheny Village with the intent of creating a plan that is in keeping with these policies. The goal of this planning process has been to prepare land use regulations and development standards that create a more appropriate framework for the village. We shared about the area's deep-rooted history, and we evaluated opportunities and constraints associated with planning for the future of the village. Through this re-engagement process, it became evident that public policy with vision and regulations could not be successful without a solid foundation of this neighborhood's history and culture. In March 2018, City Council adopted these guiding principles for Doheny Village, the historical downtown of Capistrano Beach. The following principles shown on this slide were developed by the community and have served as the baseline for the proposed land use and public improvement recommendations. The City Council also directed staff to continue collaboration with stakeholders in a working group, which was formed in July 2018. The group was tasked with developing a draft zoning code update and capital improvement plan in a series of regular monthly meetings that were open to the public, noticed on the city's calendar, and publicized on social media. During these meetings, stakeholders brought forth their analysis of site conditions, and they provided recommendations of the revisions to the city's existing zoning code. Even in 2020, the group transitioned to virtual meetings for project updates and proposed changes to the plan. It is important to note that the incorporation of public input into these draft documents has been the foundation at every step of this entire process. This timeline shows that the working group's completed tasks, from creating an action plan, light item reviews of land uses and development standards, and consideration of definitions and changes related to parking and residential density. After over 2 years of input, city staff drafted the zoning code update and capital improvement plan attached to the staff report. Many ask and want clarification. What is the Doheny Village plan today? My answer is that it is a new and improved plan for zoning and public spaces. There are two components to the Doheny Village plan: a zoning code update, which proposes a new chapter in the Dana Point zoning code called the Doheny Village Districts, and two, a capital improvement plan that outlines priority projects to enhance public areas in Doheny Village. The proposed chapter is similar in format to other zoning districts throughout the city, but these standards are unique and only applicable to the village. The draft chapter proposes to legalize existing non-conforming uses and modifies development standards to meet the existing pattern of development, which had been previously approved under County of Orange jurisdiction. As a result, these changes will likely spur both small and large-scale redevelopment in the area. The draft zoning map establishes 3 new zoning districts. In purple is the village commercial, which would allow mixed-use light industrial and commercial uses, where industrial uses had not been allowed since the adoption of the Dana Point zoning code 30 years ago, but have existed since county jurisdiction. In red is the village Main Street, which includes properties that front Doheny Park Road. And there are some existing properties with residential on upper floors, and so the intent is to allow mixed use rather than the existing zoning standards for big box retail. In brown is village commercial residential, which would allow horizontal mixed use, meaning that there could be commercial or residential allowed within this area. Currently, residential uses that are only allowed as accessory to primary commercial or vertical mixed use. Existing residential properties wanting to improve and expand are limited because of their non-conforming status. At present, there are no changes to the proposed community facilities and recreation zoning districts. However, the city recognizes that a separate specific plan has been initiated at the Capistrano Unified School District bus yard site. This timeline illustrates next steps in the zoning code update process. In 2020, city staff and the environmental consultant have been working on the draft environmental impact report. In 2021, it is anticipated that the project will be brought forth to the Planning Commission for review and to City Council for approval by summer 2021. Following City Council, we will then submit to the California Coastal Commission for a local coastal plan amendment. The City Council awarded a contract to Michael Baker International to prepare the environmental impact report for the Doheny Village Plan. The city is receiving state grant funds to pay for approximately $160,000 of the EIR costs because of the project's contribution to the city's housing goals. The SB2 planning grant requires that the project be approved by City Council and scheduled for Coastal Commission no later than June 30th, 2022. The working group also developed a capital improvement plan which identifies recommendations for priority projects toward improving connectivity, beautification, traffic calming, and public parking in the village. Rather than develop a formal beautification plan with described design treatments and extensive construction at this time, the group sought to enhance aesthetics by proposing public art, lighting, landscape programs to be implemented right away. The group formed a village beautification committee to work on short-term projects. Community members have presented concepts for potential public spaces and industrial-inspired sculptural art. They identified potential locations for mural art and color to bring interest and dimension to the area. Members also provided conceptual renderings to highlight the neighborhood identity through signage and wall art. The working group recommends that the highest priority capital improvement project is to enhance pedestrian and bicycle connectivity from Doheny Park Road to Pacific Coast Highway, which would connect the village to the beach. I will turn it over to Matt Sinacori to provide an update on the Doheny Park Road PCH connectivity project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I just first want to thank Belinda and Brenda for including Public Works in this process. It's been a very involved one, and we've enjoyed working with them and the Doheny Village Working Group on moving some of these projects forward. Just a couple of things before I walk you through these concepts, and that's my whole goal tonight, is to be as short as I can just to explain what the job involves. First, I think it's important to note in the staff report that this is listed as the highest, and they use the words very high compared to every other project in the list. So this is the highest priority project to the Doheny Village Working Group and others. Also, our plan would be in the budget process to bring a recommendation to hold as a placeholder in the fiscal year 22 budget some funds for design. I'm working on what those numbers would be, but currently it's probably in the range of about $400,000 of the Doheny Village beautification money that's already set aside for this area. Lastly, once the design gets moving forward, the intent is to request grant funds to build the project. So quickly, what's on the screen in front of you is Doheny Park Road. Just a couple of key things. And there's a much more, you have a printout of this in front of you as the graphics are in there. Couple important things. First, bike lanes are added to that whole section through that area. Also, the second through lane for Coast Highway southbound is added, and Doheny Park Road gets a second through lane. That's in line with the master plan of arterial highways. But I think the most robust change that you'll see right there is look at that intersection. I think everybody realizes, and I guess, Belinda, you could jump to the next slide. Oh, this will take me back to over by the DoubleTree, but you can see there at the DoubleTree, we're looking for wider sidewalks and beautification between the roadway and those sidewalks to create a more user-friendly environment. That also adds lighting to that area. It's a pretty dark area right now. The one thing I forgot to mention early on is that Caltrans and the city have been working on this for about 4 years, and we are through that process and now working through permitting with them on this. You can jump to the next one, Belinda. That's kind of the key change right there. You see a couple of very important things right there. First, that kind of through lane that runs off to the right towards Ola Mendes from this location, that is changed so that everybody has to come up to the traffic signal and make a right turn. That opens up a lot of opportunity for the bikes and the pedestrians to use that area in a much more appropriate manner. Also, you'll see a crosswalk added there going across to what will be the intent of the project, to add the north side sidewalk gap that's missing from the Riviera Hotel to this intersection. You can assume that when we work with Caltrans right there, that intersection will be fully redone. So that'll be part of the design. At this point, the capital program team is working on a request for proposal for design services. The important thing I want to leave with the council is that the scope of this job, I mean, we're looking at a picture now. There's a lot of detail to this. And it's going to take us some time to really dive into what that scope of work is. With that, I'll leave it to questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Lastly, I encourage the greater Dana Point community to engage with us and learn more about the Doheny Village Plan. With the COVID-19 pandemic, traditional forms of in-person outreach are simply not possible. However, the working group members and staff have created a comprehensive engagement strategy. Beginning with updates to the project's webpage on the city's website, danapoint.org, please sign up for email notifications, take a look at the updated frequently asked questions page, review the most recent draft documents, and read about the project's timeline. All of those documents have been updated today. We will have a separate playlist for Doheny Village on the city's YouTube page, which will feature pre-recorded presentations and video clips to learn about the Doheny Village Plan. Starting in March through May, there will be opportunities for anyone to join 1-hour virtual office hours with city staff in online sessions or Zoom or some other format. It will be an open forum for people to ask questions and provide feedback on the plan, and working group members have committed to joining in on the conversation as well. There will be several opportunities to engage with officials through participation in public workshops and hearings with the Planning Commission and City Council. The public can provide written comments or attend in person. All of these meeting dates will be posted on the city's calendar and sent to those on the interested parties email list. Of course, there will be a dedicated social media and marketing campaign specifically for this project. Facebook posts, Instagram, Dana Point Times articles and ads, and even an ad in the CNR R&R trash bill mailer, as well as physical notices sent to all Doheny Village residents and property owners. The ideas for this public outreach plan would not be possible without the contribution of the working group in the Doheny Village Merchants Association and the immense work that they all did to get this project to this point. Community members committed countless volunteer hours at every single one of our late night meetings. They led one-on-one talks and all of our group walkabouts throughout the neighborhood. They were the ones surveying the sites, compiling research, writing development standards, crafting renderings, and sharing so many firsthand historical accounts, all of which to highlight how important it is to preserve and enhance the village, Doheny Village, the heart of Capistrano Beach. I would like to personally thank the working group and the members of the Merchants Association for all of their hard work and dedication. Staff recommends that the City Council receive and file the staff status report. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dinas. To us, this is a receive and file, so our opportunity to share ideas, discuss, give any direction to staff if we feel we need to, but no action that we need to take tonight. Anyone have anything? Mr. Frost?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Belinda, fantastic job. This actually pretty neat aspect of our city. We're able to do this sort of stuff even during a pandemic. Couple questions, mostly from feedback I got from a couple residents. As far as the zoning goes, do you happen to remember what the impetus was for the 50 dwelling units per acre only for something that's, I believe 10 acres or larger? That confused me in there, since dwelling units per acre is a ratio anyway. Do you happen to remember what the reasoning was?
The idea was actually because the owner of the mobile home park site attended several of our meetings, and that was his input that he gave. He envisioned that so long as he owned the mobile home park wasn't going to turn it into anything else, but 50 DUs is what a baseline would have been in his mind of what it would take density-wise to convert that to higher density residential.
Okay. And then also, I think you've probably gotten some feedback on it since it's highlighted. Can we work on perhaps adding some clarity on the 50-foot height? I guess it would be on the east side of Doheny Parkway.
Absolutely. So it is highlighted in the plan. The working group members met last month on January 28th to clarify that and to add additional regulations to actually limit the height of all structures from the street frontages within the first 50 feet to 35 feet, and then from there back up to 50 feet for all structures on the east side of Doheny Park Road is the maximum. So anything above 35 feet is subject to discretion. So a site development permit process, greater standards for design compatibility, et cetera. And so with that, structures that are over 35 and up to 50 would be evaluated and, would need to fit into the fabric of the community. And so that's the way that the code is written today.
Okay, I'll follow up a couple, see if we might need a little bit more clarity. Although the gentleman I was speaking with may not have seen that. And those were my zoning questions, Mr. Mayor. Can I ask capital improvement questions? Right. Hey, Matt, just a couple quick questions. How tough would it be for you to get a column on your CIP listing, rough numbers? I'm certainly not expecting you to go out to bid. And I don't want you to spend 3 weeks of staff time. But clearly we go through that Excel spreadsheet listing, and it'd sure be neat to know how big the delta was between, what we have and what the needs or what the requests are. Is that something that's practical, or would you be so far off that you wouldn't want to put numbers to it?
So just so I understand, you're talking about the table that's in the staff report?
Yeah, you're the master CIP listing.
That one? No?
Yeah. Well, it's an Excel spreadsheet, right? That's pasted into Word or pasted into PDF.
Is it supporting document C, correct?
Yes, supporting document C. I don't have it in front of me.
I think so Councilmember Frost, what I would tell you is that I think the challenge with some of those items is the scope's not fully known for some of those projects as we're working through some of that stuff. So I'm not sure we could put a number to everything. We could probably put a number to some of it, but certainly we could try to do something. It's going to be a little bit difficult because it's somewhat of a moving target. Not sure that helps you, but that's generally what that table does, is it has a lot of generalizations for beautifying certain things, and we just don't know the full scope of that stuff just yet.
No, that makes sense. All right. Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, that's really all I have right now on the CIP. I do think it'd be really valuable for us to have numbers if we can get them. And I would think any potential owners of properties asking for up zones might also want this list also.
Mr. Vixoric, you got anything to talk about?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a zoning question. I'm looking at the slide that is of the draft zoning map. I don't know if you want to put that up or call that up. It's on page 18, I think. So just to go over the zoning again, and my question has to do with my understanding. Basically, the purple could be for industrial. The red is the Main Street commercial with some residential. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the brown area is just residential?
No. So there's an option, how it is written in the code, where it could be residential or commercial. Right now, the way that the zoning code is written is that commercial is required and residential is ancillary or secondary. And so there are houses that are along Via Santa Rosa and Sepulveda that exist today that are technically non-conforming. And so the new code would bring those to conformity by allowing strictly residential or commercial or both.
Okay. So we anticipate a residential community. There already is one there, but we anticipate residential residents living in Doheny Village.
Correct.
I guess I have a question regarding the one area, I guess, that is in the CUSD bus yard is a different color, the blue and green. And blue is for community facilities and green is for recreation. Can you explain what that means, what goes in there?
Absolutely. So community facility zone is generally a public facilities or technically it is allowed to have up to 30 dwelling units per acre of residential multifamily dwelling units. And so public and quasi-public uses are generally allowed in the community facility zone. In the recreation zone, it is generally park, open space, and those types of uses. And so this is how it is identified in the current general plan and zoning ordinance. The community facilities zone is approximately 4.4 acres of the site, and recreation area of 1.1 acre, and it is approximately 100 feet parallel to Sepulveda is the area in which is identified as recreation. And the working group was very specific in maintaining that, but understanding that the specific plan would be separate. It would be a separate application.
Okay, so to follow up on that, the recreation you said is an example would be a park. Is
Correct.
is it required to zone something as recreation to have a park? For example, because the purple, red, and brown areas are not zoned for that, can you put a park anywhere else? Or do you have to zone it as recreation?
Yes, and so the idea, given that there is a residential uses in the immediate proximity, that there would be recreation facilities in the neighborhood, and that was the intent of zoning it as such. Oh, yes, and you can have recreational uses in the other zones as well.
Okay, so if no park or open space went into the bus yard area, the way it's zoned now, if you had to identify somewhere else and have that landowner be willing to turn it into open space, it's zoned for that. I mean, obviously it's probably not going to go in the industrial area. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can put it anywhere.
Yes, I believe I'll have to check the use table for each of the zones, but I'm pretty sure that open space is allowed in each of the other 3 zones.
Okay, because I wrote down a note, I think when you were giving the presentation, that was identified by the working group and their idea for potential public spaces. And I wrote down where is the idea, or can you point out to me where there's going to be public spaces? And what does that mean? Are we just talking about a small area with a mural? I was trying to follow along with your presentation, what exactly that envisions
Right.
for public spaces.
So in terms of the capital improvement plan specifically, the short-term projects that have been identified by the Village Beautification Committee are within existing public rights-of-way, ends of cul-de-sacs, within the between the street and building facades, etc. So trying to make spaces. Also, for example, at the corner of the frontage road and Doheny Park Road, where Koala Carpet is, there's a little triangle right there of unused space. That has also been contemplated as a potential pocket park as well. So we're trying to find spaces, within our existing rights of way, and those are the short-term projects in mind.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Grant. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. Victoric. I got ahead of myself, Madam Clerk. I know we have a public comment. So you want to jump in and get that one right now? And this is Jim Shad, a resident of Capitol Beach. Mr. Shad, as always, 3 minutes for public comment. We'll let the timer, will let you know if you're getting close. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Jim Shad, Doheny Village property owner and resident. I'm here to discuss 2 items regarding this connectivity status update that you've received. Item 1 relates to the wording of the 50-foot height aspect in the update. I believe there's some confusion with the wording that might make developers feel that they can come in and build 50-foot boxes, which was never the intent of the working group. And so I just ask that council direct staff or staff continues to work with the merchants and the working group so that we can get wording so that people don't make assumptions that they can come in and just build 50-foot boxes. Item 2 involves the connectivity issue. And I want the council to understand that the item A on supporting document C is the connectivity plan, which is south at the south end of Doheny Village. And it's vital for connectivity. But the Doheny Village residents don't really consider that connectivity for the village. It serves a purpose for people coming from the south, and it makes it a little safer for people coming from the south. It makes it safer from people traveling south, but it's not very centrally located for Doheny Village residents. So item P on that supporting document spells out connectivity that's more centrally located in the village. And staff informed the working group at the time that it would be sort of a logistical issue because there's 5 agencies involved in trying to put that together, and the cost would be pretty high. But this is the option that most of the residents of Doheny Village considered to be the most workable and central. And with the recent revelation that the OCTA Metro is going to alter the train tracks in this specific area where we would like connectivity, I think it warrants a second look by council or staff and/or staff. I take you back 2 weeks ago, the council voted to allow an EIR for high density apartments, which is forward looking, even though I don't agree with that particular project. And I'd like to continue that forward looking aspect and look at making more centrally located connectivity to the beach for the people, for the existing residents and the new residents, for whatever lands on that property eventually. So I ask that you just take a look at that and just let the working group know what you come up with and decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shad. Madam Clerk, anything else?
Yes, I have a few comments to read as
Okay.
well.
Thanks.
The first one is from Stephen Reed regarding Doheny Village Plan, Beautification, and Connectivity Update. City Manager and City Council, I've been a resident of Capistrano Beach for over 32 years, and hopefully the city will begin to allocate more significant tax dollars to the Capistrano Beach section of our wonderful city. Many of the ideas in Doheny Village Plan are well thought out and long overdue. However, several sections that are being considered appear to reach no conclusion because of funding constraints. I can't help but think this is because so many of our city's capital expenditures have been allocated and committed to the Lantern Village and Monarch Beach areas of our city rather than the Doheny and Capistrano Beach areas of our town. One only needs to stand on PCH at the south entrance to our city and look south and then turn north to see the stark difference as you enter Dana Point versus San Clemente. The view to the south into San Clemente includes a beautiful dedicated walking/bike path property landscaped and is extremely attractive entrance to the city. To the north, we have K-rails and a bike path. Yes, this is safe, but a much less attractive entrance to the city of Dana Point from PCH and not as representative as other entrances to the city. This leads me to the proposed plan. I realize this started as a Doheny Village plan, but I wondered if the planners considered an extension of the beautiful San Clemente bike lane improvements from the entrance to Dana Point along PCH terminating in the Doheny Village. Center medium landscape improvements like other section of Dana Point should also be considered. At the moment, most bikers and walkers turn into the coastal trail through Doheny Park and have no easy access to Doheny Village because of the railroad. This addition to the plan would allow city residents, tourists, and neighboring city residents to easily walk/bike to Doheny Village and enjoy shopping, breakfast, lunch, or dinner and make Doheny Village a more vibrant part of the city. The beautification of the center of Dana Point is long overdue, and although the existing plan begins a process of gentrification, it will take many years and must be committed to by the city with the infrastructure to drive visitor traffic and result in businesses and investors willing to spend their hard-earned dollars on capital improvements. The next public comment is from Larry Robinson. My name is Larry Robinson. I'm a resident / landlord / business owner in the village for well over 30 years and a member of Doheny Village Working Group. One of the pillars of the Doheny Village Plan is providing a safe pedestrian and bicycle-friendly environment for our community. Significant time has been devoted to the connectivity issue and specifically beach access. One suggestion for an ideal beach access route would be from the end of Las Vegas Avenue, terminating near the Doubletree Hotel property. The primary hurdle has been the train tracks. Now that the Sarah siding extension project is in the works, that seemingly impossible impediment would be reconstructed, and an unexpected opportunity presents itself to construct a pedestrian access route under the new train tracks. I've included a photo of just such a route in Encinitas near Swami's. What might also come into play is the proposed build-out of the bus yard by the Toll Brothers. I want to commend Councilman Mueller and Vixoric for voicing concern that the scale and density would impact the vision of the Doheny Village Plan. By including this connectivity in their plans, our vision could be enhanced by the Toll Brothers project. Rarely do circumstances come together to accomplish what previously seemed impossible. The Sarah Siding Extension Project and the Toll Brothers project present a rare opportunity for collaboration on a solution that could be a win-win for all concerned. I want to thank Belinda for implementing the Doheny Village Working Group and guiding us along the way, and for the City Council attention to these matters. I would like, the next comment is from Tony Nelson in Capistrano Beach. I would like to congratulate the Planning Department, particularly Belinda Dines and the members of the Doheny Village Working Group on a job well done on the draft zoning code for the Doheny Village Plan. The group has worked for more than 2 years looking at every aspect of the code, and members have been careful stewards of their responsibility to the property owners and businesses and residents of the community. The recent changes in setbacks for taller buildings and the decision to confine residential development to upper floors of the mixed-use developments show a sensitivity to the aesthetics and livability of the area. I am particularly pleased to see that the connectivity of the village to Doheny State Park and the rest of Dana Point still has top priority. But I am concerned that there is no funding assigned for this or indeed any of the major capital improvements contemplating in the plan. I'm hopeful that the city's finances will improve as the effects of the pandemic start to recede, that grants may become available, and or that developers can be asked to contribute to the needed public infrastructure improvements. I am also concerned that the connectivity project may be on hold for the proposed $50 million OCTA/Metrolink project, which, if approved, would not finish construction until 2026, assuming it's ever built at all. 5 or more years is too long for these improvements to wait. I'm hopeful that non-conflicting aspects of the plan will continue and that the city can budget for necessary capital improvements throughout the area. Along with other Capistrano Beach residents, I'm very happy to see improvements in the village in terms of lighting, landscaping, and beautification. All of these improvements not only make the area more attractive, but they demonstrate that Doheny Village is an integral part of our community that deserves the high level of care and attention enjoyed throughout Dana Point. I look forward to the public meetings and workshops as the plan makes its way to the Coastal Commission for approval. Thank you to the working group and city staff for a commendable job on this important project. And my last public comment on this item is from Mara Miklik. Good evening, council and staff. It is my understanding that tonight you are just discussing the Doheny Village Plan and not making any decisions about zoning code updates that are still being studied. I hope my understanding is accurate. But I wanted to take the opportunity to just share a couple of concerns that jump out at me when I look at plans for the Doheny Village. It looks to me as if some of the changes being considered will pretty significantly change building options for various types of critically needed housing. For example, single room occupancy buildings, which are like motel rooms or small studio apartments, are often great housing options for previously homeless individuals, are presently allowed through the downtown Capitol Beach. With proposed zoning changes, they would no longer be allowed in much of the downtown. Same with emergency shelters. They would be prohibited on Doheny Park Road and west of Doheny. Why is that? Why would we be making it harder to develop these kinds of critical housing and shelter options in that area? An area that, in fact, there would likely be less resistance due to it being less residential. So I just wanted to put that out there and respectfully urge you all to be thinking about these kinds of things as you go forward with the Doheny Village Plan. From the city's own data, we know almost a third of Dana Point households make less than $50,000 a year. Capistrano Unified School District reports that 27% of its students are eligible for free and reduced meals, and there are hundreds of students in Dana Point schools who are homeless. And of course, we have too many adult residents of Dana Point with no home. I hope that in all zoning decisions made going forward, we make it easier to build housing inclusive of all incomes and not harder. Thank you for the opportunity to share thoughts on this issue. Mara Miklik, Capistrano Beach. That's my last public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I apologize for getting out of order there. I got a little ahead of myself. Mr. Victor, you were done, right? Your questions, comments, thanks. All right. I'll just keep going in order then, gentlemen. Fantastic work on this plan. Thank you for the update. I think the comments were very valuable, and we do need to kind of really get the ball rolling here. I'm going to let everybody make their comments, but I'll just kind of let everybody know. I'm going to make a motion at the end of all the discussion that we budget for at least the design of, and I guess a question for you, Mr. Sinacori. Would it be helpful to you? I know we've got money in the accounts earmarked for this, but if the council gave you direction to budget for design of the pedestrian connectivity, would that be helpful to you? Do you need that direction in order to spend that money, Mr. Killebrew?
The council would have to not only approve the budget, but also the contract. So your direction to put it in the budget, it would be appreciated.
Okay. Well, we'll let all the discussions go first. Maybe we'll see what else everyone else wants to do, but I'm going to do that before we're done, so you guys know. Quick question about beautification and art projects. I know you've got a bunch of those sort of in line. Is there anything we can do to help move that along? Does the Arts and Culture Commission need to help with that? What can we do to keep that stuff moving?
So I know that we had gone to council mid-year last year for allocation of funding, and that project was put on hold. And so we hope to restart the public art program sometime in summer, and hopefully come back with an RFP process to streamline that for future projects. And so anticipate that in the next few months.
Okay, thanks. Mr. City Manager, is there a process that you need for that? Do we need to ask the Arts and Culture Commission to get involved or not get involved in that?
Yeah, another council member had actually asked me some of those questions earlier today. And talking with Assistant City Manager Renders, who staffs the Arts and Culture Commission, and given recent success with our outreach for artists program for the utility boxes, I would recommend that we put it into the realm of those responsible for, delegated by the city council to take a look at arts and culture. Maybe to work with them for requests for artist proposals, but also maybe they find a way to include the property owners, because I think that was a little bit of a hole in our prior process that I brought forward last year, to include the property owners in wherever the artwork's going, if it's on private property, in the selection process. So if it were to go to the Arts and Culture Commission, I think they're geared up and have processes now to deal with that, with the caveat that we'd want to include the private property owner in the selection process for artwork.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Matt, but one more question for you. If we do go forward with design for the pedestrian connectivity, is it pretty safe to say that we will be able to find all of the efficiencies of planning that in conjunction with other changes that are going to go on down there, like railroad tracks and everything else? We're not going to miss any opportunities if we start with that planning now, are we?
I don't believe we are, Mayor, at all. I think it's important for the council to know that we're actively engaged with Metrolink and OCT at this time on that project, and believe the plan that's actually in front of you tonight. Actually, if you look close at that one slide, and I don't know, Belinda, if you can go back to one of those slides for me, I'll point it out to you, because there's a bridge hanging out in space that you can't really see unless you really look for it. It's going to be one more. Actually, you know what? That's it right there. So if you look right there, you'll see that bridge hanging out there. So you can see the coordination's already happening, but we don't anticipate any conflicts between our ability to get this done with their work, provided that there's going to be some overlap. There's just no way around it. They're building a bridge through an area we're planning to do some work in, so that prevents some coordination need.
Okay. That's all my questions. Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you go back to the planning map? It's the color-coded one. So, Linda, I look at the purple area, and one of the things we did was we're going to actually make legal some of these legal non-conforming operations. And a lot back in there is an industrial area, but they sell out of there as well. So they will have a retail space, but it doesn't show in our village commercial industrial that we're going to allow retail back there. How does that affect them?
The proposed zoning does allow for retail as well. So it is commercial.
Okay, because you said commercial industrial only, so I didn't know. So we can do retail back in there as well?
Correct. Commercial is retail.
All right. Okay, I just want to make sure. Well, I see commercial industrial. I guess I don't read it the same way you do. But
Sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're doing that.
In the intent and purpose of this particular zone, it clarifies that it is considered a mixed use zone, commercial and industrial.
Okay, perfect. And then Matt, can you hop back up? And I'm not sure which map I'm looking at, but how are we going to get pedestrian, if we don't get the underpass, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, if we don't get it, how do we get connectivity underneath PCH to go down Coast Highway? I know there's a walk, there's a sidewalk there, but that on-ramp, if you're coming towards the coast on Doheny Road and you're going to go up coast on PCH, that can get to pretty high speed, and there's a pedestrian crossing there. Which map am I looking at that's going to handle that?
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand the question. So if
it's more of, we're looking at how we've changed how we're getting onto Coast Highway, but this is over by the Doubletree. I'm looking at the underpass we go under as we go into Doheny Village. So it's this, but it's the area we're going up. If we're at Coast Highway, we turn left and go into the village.
So, Belinda, if you could flip back, I think it's one more. You're talking about that one, right?
I'm looking at the other side of the street though. You see the freeway on-ramp that's going up coast?
Right. So
And there's no light there. And so as soon as you get through the light, and this one's really confusing to me because the streets aren't here. Maybe I'm missing something.
Matt, I think he's talking about from where U-Haul is,
Yeah, right at the U-Haul station.
heading into town, the proper part of town, the Aesberger side of the
Yeah.
creek.
got it. That's a great question. So I will ride my bike into town often just to test everything.
Mhm.
It's actually legal, if you can believe it, to ride over that.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know.
I've done it many times. It doesn't feel all that uncomfortable in there, but right now the plan would be that they go through Doheny and link back at Dana Point Harbor
Well,
Drive.
I'm more concerned about the speed at that on-ramp because you have the stoplight at the U-Haul.
Yep.
And then it's a sprint up that ramp.
Got it.
And we have pedestrians crossing over there trying to get over to our current connectivity solution. What are we going to do about that? That seems dangerous to me. And I don't see anything on here on how we're going to address it.
It's a great question. Right now, there's nothing shown on this concept, but it's certainly something we can take back and work on.
Well, I think because this is all part of the plan, I think we need to address that at the same time. Because I see skateboarders going up that ramp and people walking up that ramp. It's actually, I would never do it myself because it would terrify me when I see the pedestrians on it. It's scary to me.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, again, so two things I'm hearing is first, just trying to keep people from going up there to give them a better option. So we're
Right.
trying to improve that connectivity to make it more attractive, add lighting, add beautification, say this is the way to go to get to the beach. So that's one thing.
Mhm.
But also the concern about that right turn going up that ramp with that crosswalk right there. I mean, that's challenges its Caltrans right away, and
right.
we'll have to work with them a little closer on that.
Well, and if you need help, obviously, I sit on OCTA, just so the council knows, the double tracking they're talking about down there, the engineers have been working on it and they're doing a great job. But one of the things that Metrolink doesn't understand is has a huge impact on our community. That double track will allow them to stack trains on the beach so they can pull one over, get one past, and bring the other one back out. And they don't understand we need mitigation for that, not technical mitigation. We need a quality of life mitigation. And so we're working really hardly, and I know staff's been working, diligently with Metrolink and OCTA, but we're trying to get an underpass probably at Las Vegas because it's already double tracked at Victoria. And I think that's one of the things, and I don't see that on here. And I think that's something we should design in, whether we get it or not, but we should be ready for it, that it could be part of our solution, because I do believe ultimately we will get something at that point. I tried to get at-grade and they laughed at me. So yeah, we're going underpass. They're trying to close all their at-grade crossings right now anyway. And that's one. We have another one that we're talking about in Jamie's district, District 3, over by the new canal site. So, but I think we need to add that in because, I've got 2 years left on OCTA and hopefully maybe more, maybe not. And I'm gonna work diligently to get that for us because I think that is the key to our connectivity to the beach out of the village. And I believe that's what Mr. Shad was talking about. I was looking through the attachment and I couldn't figure out which one he was discussing, but that is absolutely on my radar. I work with OCTA and CEO Johnson on that all, weekly, trying to figure out how we get Metrolink to listen to our needs down in this area. So I think that was it. I want to thank, the staff and Ms. Dines and the Merchants Association and the working group down there. This has been a long process. I remember when I got elected in 2014 with Councilmember Vic Sorek, we both talked about the Doheny Village Revitalization Plan. We're 6 years in and we're not quite there, but hopefully we'll get it across the finish line before we're done in 2 years. And wow, that'd be crazy. We got Town Center, the Harbor, and Doheny Village all done in within 8 years. Good job, Rick. Good work. So anyway, so thank you so much for all your hard work on this. This is incredibly important. I would like to address one of the speakers said that he feels we spent more money in Town Center and up in Monarch Beach. If you go back and look at our capital improvement dollars, they've been spent equally across the city, including Capitol Beach has gotten actually a higher percentage than those other areas. You may not see it because it's been infrastructure, it's been curb and gutter, it's been, drains and, runoff drains, sewer drains. But we've spent a lot of money down there, and quite frankly, till recently, they haven't really come up and asked for this beautification. I mean, when I say recently, I mean within the last 6 years. And so we're working diligently on that. We've been listening to that. And one of the things we did to try to offset some of those costs, and I brought this up, I think I did it 4 years ago now, 3 years ago, is all of the development impact fees that we collect on town center are now going into the Doheny Village beautification plan. So we are trying to supplement that area to make sure that we have the funds to do this project. So, Mr. Sinacori, get your pencil sharp if we're going to start putting this into the budget, because right now, we all know that our revenue's been a little bit short this year. But with that, that's all I have right now. Thanks.
I don't have any questions, just some general comments. Again, thank you for the work for you and all the city staff. I mean, this is, Doheny Village is extremely important, not only to Dana Point, but obviously to District 5, all of Capitol Beach residents. We go down there, we go to the shops, we go to Big Five, we go to Smart and Final, and it needs a facelift, right? Badly. And I wish this process was quicker so that we can get that facelifts done, so it does look like the rest of the city. And it is a valid point, right? And you're right. It appears that it's unbalanced, but I'm sure that it's not. But it certainly appears that way. So I'm just hopeful that we can continue to go down the path as quickly as we can. But I do appreciate the effort that you're making to try to understand everybody's viewpoint, right? If we move too fast, then a group of people might not be happy, and now you kind of defeated your purpose. So thank you for all the work, and I'm looking forward to seeing this done. Thank you.
Anybody else, any follow-on questions or get spurred from Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one. Well, I realized I forgot to ask this. And I think I probably know the answer, but just to make sure, I had asked you back on page 18, the draft zoning map, if you could put open space into the other 3 zones, and the answer is yes. I forgot to ask you the converse of that, though. It's not required, right? I mean, we're not guaranteed open space in any of those areas, and the people that the landowners don't necessarily have to put in park space or any open space into those areas, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No, then I will make a motion that we direct staff to budget for the design of the Doheny Village connectivity project. The design only, obviously, at this point, and that alone is going to take quite a bit of time. And that we also direct the Arts and Culture Commission to assist with, however staff needs them to assist with, moving the beautification projects forward.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, for your motion, do we need to identify that Mayor Pro Tem's idea of also including that first on-ramp next to U-Haul, or is that implied that this will be in that design? And then actually one other one, is it too early to also include some design for the end of Las Vegas, assuming we're not even sure we can go underground? But I guess what do you guys think the scope should be for the design?
I will say I think the direction to this, I think the staff understands what we're looking for. I don't think we need to change the motion, but
I would say plan for that undergrounding. I've been very clear about the political ramifications of trying to double track without doing something, getting a community benefit out of it. I think Metrolink is aware of that. They're starting to think of it a little bit differently. They're taking it out of engineering right now and they're putting it into policy. So they understand that that's an incredibly important project for them. They have the funds for it today. And if we're ever going to get an underpass, this is exactly the time to do it. And that if they don't do it, this community could stand up and oppose it. And that's something that they don't want to see. So I believe we will get it. Can't guarantee it until the vote comes in, but I believe we should be studying it, planning for it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the project in question is referring to Project P in the capital improvement plan. Right now, it is identified as a medium priority. If the council so chooses, we can modify that at staff level to increase the priority of that project. It's also identified as a trail walkway connection to Victoria Boulevard, but we can also add the language end of
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas to clarify that as well.
But my recommendation is take Victoria off, only because they are not going to tear those tracks up right there. I mean, we won't get the underpass right there. If we're going to get one, it'll be at Las Vegas.
Understood. I will modify the plan.
In my opinion. Staff may have a different opinion.
I wouldn't say can't until it doesn't happen.
Right.
I think the preference across the board would be Victoria. It's about 120 feet from where the double tracking ends. So maybe there is a way to pull it together. I think the community would appreciate such a gesture from Metrolink and OCTA and putting their project together to provide such a community benefit. Obviously, we'd accept one at Las Vegas, but I think when you look at the whole connectivity of that area, it makes a lot more sense centralized and directly on the other side of the tracks from Doheny Village. Already have an easement there across the water district site for underground storm drains that would provide a clear curved path toward the beach. So I think it's clear the council wants us to keep pursuing that. And I don't know that we really need to design anything different in our connectivity study to get there. Now, honestly, whether it's on Las Vegas or Victoria.
Yeah, I think my concern would be designing something that ultimately we're not going to build. But
I'm not asking to
Yeah.
design the underpass. So we design the connectivity that there will be an underpass there, and that's how we're going to get to the beach.
So I'll amend my motion to say that I'd like to budget for design of the connectivity study that includes integration of Project P or some train track crossing. Is that clear enough, Mr. Sinacori, for you to work with? And also direct Arts and Culture Commission to help with beautification. Are you good with that, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, and I just-
Mr. Villar actually was the second.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's good.
Okay, so
I just want to say thank you for doing this. Most of the time when we do these big, specific, or not so much a specific plan, but a rezoning project like this, when the town center got done, it took them 10 years to enact it. It sat on a shelf for 10 years. A lot of times this happens. Thanks for bringing this forward. Let's budget, let's start the design work and keep it moving forward. And we don't need this sitting on a shelf for 10 more years. Doheny Village has waited long enough. So, and Mr. Councilmember Villar got in front of me, but he should have, because these are, you pack your districts the most. So thanks.
thanks for that, Mr. Frost. Any more questions? Good clarification. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Madam Clerk?
Would you like me to take roll call?
Sure.
Thank you. Councilmember Frost.
Aye.
Councilmember Vixoric.
Aye.
Councilmember Villar.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you very much to the staff for all the hard work on that. I think that closes that one out, and look forward to us moving forward with some of this stuff. That brings us to staff reports tonight. Mr. City Manager.
I have nothing to report this evening, sir.
Mr. City Attorney.
I sent an update to the council earlier today, but I thought for the benefit of the public, I would mention that in the lawsuit involving the sheriff, where he was ordered to release half of the jail population, that there's been some additional rulings. And at this point, as I understand it, the court ruled that no additional releases have to occur.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the end of our meeting. For the public, anyway, the city council is going to recess back to closed session tonight, and we will come back and officially close the meeting afterwards. I would just like to, before we go, remind everybody to please shop local and support the Festival of Wales on the 6th and 7th of March. We are now in recess to closed session. Have a good night. Thank you.